Hello and welcome to Kinbozan Radio, and Nick, we have Bansuke.
I am so excited. It feels like this break has been really long.
It's just, when you go through those sumo withdrawals, it's real tough.
Yes, especially with some of the top people. Like there's a lot of good promotions, some demotions. There's some E.G. Yamamoto is back. I'm super excited for that. I don't know if it'll stay, but I'm excited.
Your beloved baby Abi. But he also just come on, one of the greatest stories in sumo. The story is that he was just like a clerk worker, like boring desk job back in his home province of Hokkaido, and he wanted to turn pro in sumo, and his parents were like, "Don't do it." It makes me think of Tom Segura has that joke about when he told his mom he wanted to move to LA and become a stand-up comedian, and she said, "You should go to the post office," and he was like, "I don't. What, you need me to pick up a package?" And she's like, no, go to the post office and work there instead.
And it worked out for both of them. This is just like a classic, follow your dreams, but it actually worked out.
Exactly. So we'll talk more about promotions and demotions in a second, but it's, I guess, whenever we open up a Bansuke, we always kind of want to start by talking about the top, the Sanyaku, because as much as we like the stories down below, these are the guys who you got to turn to first for contenders, but a lot of them are going to be missing, and let's just talk about the big one, always the elephant in the room, is will Teru compete? Nick, what you think?
I don't know. I feel like it's been so silent versus when he came back the last time, they were ahead of time, they were like, no, he's back.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with the injuries, the knees are terrible, but it's when it's spinal injuries, I don't know, man. I don't even know if it's worth risking him coming back and you don't want to see him get paralyzed or have severe injuries.
Yeah, not only do I not think it's worth it for him to come back, I don't think he's coming back in November. I think January is the earliest that we'll possibly see him back. And again, I'm now looking for him to pick that ride off into the Sunset tournament. Now I think things truly have changed. I wanted it after May for him to just go 14-1, win the championship right off. I would have rather have been a Zensho Yusho, but such is life. But I think if he competes one more time, he is going to do everything he can and put every bit of his body on the line to win one last Yusho, and then I think he's gone. We talked about these goals he has, but I'd love to see him get to double-digit Makuuchi Yusho, but there's no way. There's nothing left in the tank.
No, I would 100% agree where it's he's got the spirit, he's got everything lined up for him, but just with the injuries he has, what would he be at? He's 1-7 in this, correct?
8. When you were 8. Now, hey, I know that's surprising, but it's because when he came back in May, that was 8. Now, granted, he's really only completed one tournament in the last year and a half, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure if he came back and won, I don't know, it'd be hard with it, just with the pride you have at that level to be do you push it forward for one more time? I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing him just, like you said, even if he comes back, puts online, gets it once, and then just stops.
Right.
Would be wonderful.
And I'm with you, obviously, and so because that is my mentality, that's why I don't think he's coming back in November, because there's no way he's at a level like what he could do in May, where he's still hurt but whether he's taking cortisol shots for pain relief or what he's doing, there's no way he's in shape to do that right now. I think maybe January, so we'll see. Besides him, though, he is not the only injury concern. I do want to start with one. So Asanoyama, there's talk of, he was snubbed, he's not in the Sanyaku, but you and I talked about that. It was tight. It's so tight up there. The Sanyaku is so solid this time. We've got our two new Ozeki, who you and I both like, Kirishima and Hoshoryu, and obviously Takakeisho there, who we're going to talk a lot about later. But the three Sekiwake who are there right now, Daisho, Wakamoto Haru, and Kotonowaka, are so solid. And Hokutofuji, you had to put up to Komusubi based on his result and his previous positioning. So it came down to basically there being one Komusubi slot remaining, and would it be Asanoyama or would it be Abi? And I think they made the right choice insofar as both of those dudes went 9-6, but Abi was technically ranked a half spot higher than Asanoyama because the East is technically more prestigious than West. So they were both Maegashira 2, but Abi was the East, Asanoyama was the West, so he just gets the nod for the only Sanyaku spot was there. Yes, they could have made an additional Sanyaku spot, especially when you consider that, like, but it would have balanced it or whatever. They like to have equal numbers on both sides, but it wouldn't have, because we all know Terunofuji's not going to compete, right? So it's not technically uneven. Having 3 Ozeki, 3 Sekiwake, and 2 Komusubi is what's going to be balanced.
Yep. And then when you throw him there as well, they drag Rosé up as well to a level where they're not necessarily ready for the sake of putting Asanoyama up. So I agree. I think that just made the most sense with the math.
Yeah, but then the thing that's disappointing is he appears to have the exact same injury that derailed Nishikigi last time when he had gone up to Komusubi. We don't know for sure if it's a calf strain, a partial calf muscle tear, or a full tear, but he has hurt his calf. And what stinks about that is, like we saw with Nishikigi, it was really interesting. He opened up the Basho with a win, and then he was 3-1 going into day 5, and it was really impressive. We're like, hey, is this guy going to fight through this injury? No. Ended up only winning 2 more matches the entire Basho, finished 5-10, has now dropped from Komusubi to M4, which is perfectly reasonable because that's a brutal injury to try to fight on, a torn calf muscle. But I just look at Asanoyama now and I'm like, oh no, Nishikigi kind of pushed through the pain those first few days, but as he kept fighting every single day, making that injury worse and more painful and having less recovery time, it fell apart. Are we going to see the same from Asanoyama here if he tries to fight injured?
I think so. Honestly, it's a bummer because, Asanoyama was going 100 miles an hour just up the ranks. But I think, as we talked about a little bit before, he spent so long out of the top division that now he's coming back, he's getting injured. Things are just not 100% working out for him. And, those are just real setbacks. And I think if he pushes it too hard, and he goes back another couple ranks, well, it's okay, well, then maybe next year, May, he'll get to the, Komusubi. But it's it's just going to really set him back.
Right. I know. That's a good point, because he's older now. He's also coming up, and like you're saying, he's been not fighting against top division talent for a while. And now he's back with 2 more years on his bones, 2 more years on his body. These injuries are going to happen. And so it's interesting because, if he, pushes it and tries, the recovery times get longer and longer as you get older. You don't bounce back as fast. So if he aggravates that calf bad in this tournament, then like you're saying, maybe then he's got to sit out 1 or 2 tournaments, and when he comes back, he's fighting yet again at the Maegashira 15s and has an even higher climb. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see him, I guess, fight injured, but just try to get 8 to tread water, or 7, and then just pull out the last 3 to 5 days of the Basho.
Yeah, I think that's the best you can hope for. That's what I'm going in on the assumption. If he does better, great. Maybe it was just a strain. He's good after a couple of months. But yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of people had very high, including us, had high hopes for him, but he has really slowed down.
Yep.
This year, once he's gotten toward past making sure 12, it's been a lot slower than we expected.
I'm with you. I still think it's an injustice what the JSA. It's tough. It's complicated. If there are rules, you have to follow them. But he and all the guys who got the ban hammer for breaking COVID protocols and stuff like that, and got these massive suspensions. So for those that don't know, Asanoyama dropped all the way from Ozeki because he got this year-long ban, and a year-long ban means not only not doing sumo for a year, but then spending a year working your way back up. So basically, he's got 2 extra years on his body from his Ozeki form. And I think even if that hadn't happened, over the course of 2 years, we've seen this with a lot of guys in recent memory. Look at what happened to Takayumi. Look at what happened to Shodai. Or again, even going before that, Tochinoshin, it's hard to keep Ozeki till retirement. When your body starts getting old, you start wearing down. So while lots of people at the time he got banned had him as the best potential contender to make it to Yokozuna, and so therefore on Sumo Reddit, lots of people still, when he was coming back, had him as their contender to get all the way back to Ozeki and then to Yokozuna. It's not unreasonable to think that even if he had stayed there without getting banned, he would have dropped down anyway by age, it's not a given, right? Just because he was at Ozeki when he got sent away doesn't mean he's automatically going to retain that and then go beyond.
Yep, exactly. And it would have been nice to have seen him maybe get higher, maybe not, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll see if he gets there. Yeah, I still have some faith in him.
Same, yeah. It's still possible. It's just that I don't think we're talking about 2020 Asanoyama anymore.
No.
Yeah,
No.
he might be properly ranked in the Sekiwake Komusubi M1, M2 range. Similar to another guy that has had some injury problems that we're going to talk about, Takayasu. Like, we're massive Takayasu supporters, but at this point, I kind of think that the reclaiming Ozeki option has passed him by, because I don't know that consistency is ever going to be back. We're still going to sit there and root for him to win a Yusho always, to kind of put that cherry on his career. But this is another guy who sat out the entire off-season tour here with, I believe when I was looking it up, he's got cracked vertebrae in his spine.
Yeah, that's a really intense injury, and I feel like you can see where he was much more consistent, and then over the last several tournaments, he's been losing matches he never should have.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he's doing poorly still, but like it's just not there. I'd like to see him maybe get back up to like Sekewake, but I feel like that's as high as we would realistically see.
Right, we're rooting for him to get a Yusho, and if he does, especially if he does it from this M3, then that's probably where he's going, is something like Sekiwake. But it's just tough. I don't, same with Terunofuji, I don't want to see this guy put more long-term damage on his body at all. And I get the specific injury he has, while it sounds really brutal with cracked vertebrae, and I personally agree with you, I think I would just stop if that was my case. I was reading into it a little bit, and it's the kind of injury that apparently is, as long as you take the time to heal and strengthen the muscles around it, you're fine, like, for the rest of a lifetime. And so his version of that was, okay, I'll just sit out the October tour. But I'm like, really? Is that enough rest? Is that what they're talking about? I don't think that's what they're talking about.
No, it's probably not enough, and I don't know. It's hard to see. Maybe his skill will be enough to like kind of take it.
Yeah. I hope so, but we'll find out. But despite all the old hands that you and I are partial to, the Asanoyamas, the Takayasu, you hinted on a little bit, we have a massive crop of promotion. I mean, okay, we talked about it in our review episode. Basically, I was of the opinion that there were more dudes who deserved to be dropped from Makuuchi than there were Rikishi who deserved to be promoted from Juryo. So I thought a lot of really poorly performing wrestlers were going to get saved. Turns out that wasn't the case. The only one that got saved was Nishikifuji. We have lost Aoyama, which I know you and I want to touch on. But besides that, we have a massive crop of 6 new guys coming up who I do not know that they all deserve to be around here. But we'll talk about that. First, though, I mean, we already did a little bit, but we should say our goodbyes to Aoyama, right? Like, I hope he can make it back up from J1, but I don't know.
I don't see it happening with how his performance has been this entire year. I just don't see it. It's not. I don't think he's going to come back. It'd be wonderful to see, but I do think this is going to be. I think this is it.
Yeah, I know. We've seen this already. The examples we cited in the last episode were that we saw this with Tochinoshin and we saw this with Kaisei, and I do think those are the best examples. I will say, I believe Aoyama is healthier than either of those two guys were when they went down, but Aoyama's been having lower back problems over the last year and a half, so if those are a factor, I think that's a problem. If he can immediately bounce back up, if he does well enough to immediately bounce up this Basho, that's when I think he'll be fine and he'll stabilize. But if he has to fight 2 or 3 tournaments in Juryo, that's when I think you kind of lose it. Like what has happened with Chiyomaru, just kind of getting stuck in the morass down there.
Yep. No, and I wouldn't mind. Like he's not as severely injured as like Tochinoshin or any of those, but I still at this point I'm like maybe it's just best for him. Do a tournament in Juryo, maybe just kind of call it good. I wouldn't mind seeing him retire at this point. He's had a good career. It's been long.
Right, and I believe he got his Japanese citizenship either early this year or last year, so I think he's planning to and able to immediately go into coaching after this. So like it won't be goodbye, or rather I should say it'll be it won't be sayonara. It'll just be matane.
Yep. I think he'd be a great coach. I think that'd be a good exit for him. I just think it's one of those things where it's like, is it just time or do you just keep struggling for a while?
Right. And I will say, though, to your point about him being a great coach, I agree. And I also feel like per our conversation last time, I won't redo all of it, but I will encourage you to go back and listen to our last review episode. if you want a further discussion on this. But I think if he gets into coaching, that could be a good opportunity to try to keep that Eastern European pipeline into sumo open, hopefully.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I hope. It's tough because of the restrictions on foreigners in Heya, but we'll see. And just a quick roundup just of a couple of these, but we also lost Koto Shoho is one of the ones who I thought was going to get saved simply because of the pedigree and stuff like that. But man, that guy has not, his whole run in Makuuchi here was good, but like he has not looked like the same guy he was before he had that knee injury at this point. Man, that was a long time ago, 2021, I think. And then, yeah, but he was like this young, hot up-and-comer, but I don't know that he's the same. We lost Kagayaki, Dayamami, Chiyoshoma, we finally lost. Hakuoho, we lost simply because he's been sitting out and will continue to sit out. But I don't know. I mean, make no mistake, I think all those guys deserved to leave the division, including our golden boy, the hype train Nishikifuji potentially deserved to go. But with them promoting 6 dudes, Tomokaze, Ichi Yamamoto, Tohakuryu, Churanoumi, Roga, and Kitanowaka, there was truly no one left in Juryo they could drag up. So Nishikifuji is spared.
I 100% agree. As much as I love Nishikifuji, it was just pure luck that he didn't get dropped down more.
Yeah,
it's a bummer to see him this low. It's really a bummer for me, but
yeah, it stinks. And then, but like, I think he'll be fine because, again, just to talk about the promotions here, we talked about the demotions, but like we have been experiencing this awesome infusion of new talent from Juryo, but that pipeline started to run out last Basho, and I kind of think it's out. Well, 2 guys here in this crop of 6 that were at one point kind of up-and-comers that I was excited for are actually the 2 who skated in by the worst margin, and I don't know that they necessarily deserved it. Kitanowaka went 8-7 from Juryo 2 and got in. That doesn't exactly instill confidence. And Roga a little better, 8-7 from J1, which is technically what you need to get promoted, but usually you want to see 9 wins from J1, and sometimes that doesn't even make it. Roga he's Tuvan, he's the Russian or whatever, but actually from Tuva, which is a Russian province that borders Mongolia. So you're going to get a lot of that same upbringing that we see in these Mongolian wrestlers and stuff like that. And the big thing about him, he's giant, he's huge, he's built like Takayasu, and so kind of think that same kind of fighting style of stability, kind of taking hits and then forcing guys out. And he did that for a while and was grinding his way up Juryo, but has kind of lost steam in Juryo. Like, I mean, the guy got up from Makushita on a couple back-to-back 4-3s, like 3 straight 4-3s. Not that impressive. In Juryo, he's never gotten double-digit wins. He's gotten all 8s and 9s. Like, he's never had a losing record since he's been in Juryo. But I don't know, man. Like, he's this guy that, like, the physicals, you look at him and everything says, yeah, this is what we want. But then you look at the results and you're like, what?
Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are like, they'll probably do well enough, but it's nothing like in Atamifuji where like you're like excited that they're up here. Where you're just like, oh yeah, they're also here. Right.
Exactly. This is not Atamifuji bouncing back up. This is not when Hakuoho came up, and this is not the next guy that we're all waiting for, Onosato. When Onosato comes up, there'll be a lot of hype again as well, but just not there yet. But your boy Ichi Yamamoto had a stellar 13-2 record and a Juryo Yusho. Do you think he can push on here this run in Makuuchi?
That is a tough one to guess on because he is really a yo-yo, man. Like, yeah. I would love to see him. I do think with the crowd around him, he could do it. I think he could at least getting up a couple slots.
If only there was a Basho hosted in Hokkaido. I think he's good and it's fine. It's like Kagayaki, right? Kagayaki comes whenever we see Kagayaki in Juryo, it's like, ooh, this guy's way too good for this. He cannot be here. But then you see him in Makuuchi and you're like, now wait a minute, are you not good enough for this? Do we need to invent a half division for you?
Just like the 6 people who are just kind of bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, I mean, it'll still be exciting to see what they do. And the fact that there are so many of them means that, like you're saying, some of them are going to have good records because they're going to beat each other up. We essentially have a half Juryo division at the bottom of the Bansuke hanging out there. But if we're thinking there's going to be some treading water in that bottom portion of the Bansuke, who are some rankings that sort of stood out to you when you saw him as like, okay, this guy is where he should be. I expect him to kick on from here.
Are you thinking like just in the bottom part or overall?
Oh no, whole Bansuke. Yeah, like go up high. Like, yeah, how do you feel about well, you mentioned one of them. How do you feel about Atamifuji? Do you think he got too much of a jetpack, the correct amount of jetpack? He's at M8 now.
I think M8 is probably, with how well he did, is the most reasonable number. You know, it's 6-5, like some of those where it's like, oh, that was a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. It'll give him a good hit of the middle. I do think last time he just didn't have to fight tons of like the top. Mm-hmm. Where this is, again, you're not gonna force him to just like really just M3 and above. That's gonna be all your competition. I think it's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I think it's literally the perfect ranking. I think that the JSA, as in like what he deserves, I think they did the right thing. Technically, I might have rather seen him at M10 because then I think he has a better chance to rack up a few more soft wins. But this is the right spot for him, and I think it's not too much. I think he can kick on there. How about, we mentioned that Hokuseiho is up to Komusubi and Uda is now at M1, so he, just like Asanoyama, is challenging for the Sanyaku yet again for the first time in his career. What do you think about those two guys hanging out? Like, I juxtapose them because it's like, hey, here's the one who got to Komusubi but maybe dropping down. Here's the one that just missed on Komusubi, but can he get there next time?
I don't see Ura getting up. Yeah. I feel like this is going to be kind of like what keeps happening to Tobizaru, where he gets up there and he's just going to get wrecked. To be honest, like that's just my honest opinion. Is I don't think he's going to do spectacular because, as you know, kind of like we talked about a little bit before we started recording, is that Tobizaru's better than Ura, and he keeps hitting those same roadblocks.
I hear you. Like Ura's good, and we all love Ura. But, like, there's a lot of, again, no double-digit wins at all this year. And did he even have double-digit wins last year? No. Last time double-digit wins was that great 10-5 from Maegashira 7 in November of 2021. And he oscillates with a lot of 7 and 8s and 9 and 6s. I know a lot of the friends that we watch sumo with get really frustrated. He has that technique that's pretty consistent, that he goes low because he's looking for mawashi, he's looking for positioning, he's looking to throw guys off balance. It's just kind of the style he's trained, and they get really frustrated because they see him suffer a lot of hataki komi defeats because he starts so low. I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of those things where you can't ask the guy to change his style, but they're not wrong that he does seem to take a lot of quick gimme losses via hataki komi because of that strategy.
Yeah, and I don't think clearly he's not doing that poorly. Like,
right.
He's still at M1, so it's not like it's not working for him, but...
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know. How about, I mean, we'll talk about them in a little bit as well, but our previous, we talked a little bit about guys coming up from the Juryo ranks, and now some of the guys who are not old news per se, but have been here for a while. We actually have Hokuseiho and Kinbozan yet again tied up together, now this time at M7. Those two kind of like yo-yoing, springing back and forth to each other. But we've also got Gonoyama at M4 and Shonanuumi at M6. As sort of part of this crop of the next generation coming in. Any thoughts on any of those four?
I still have the same kind of reservations about Hokuseiho that I did before, the last time he was up here, where his technique works really well, where he can just kind of be tall and muscle people out with a lower rank, but I don't know if his technique has developed enough to really excel at this level versus maybe Kinbozan's maybe just a little bit more dynamic.
I mean, Kinbozan's definitely had one better stellar performance, although, I don't know, I guess that's debatable because we did have 10 wins from Hokuseiho just last Basho, but somehow, like, 11 wins feels so different than 10, like it shouldn't. And also, I mean, Kinbozan got a Kanto show on his 11-win Basho, but yeah, I'm with you, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, man, Gonoyama's been doing well. I really don't have anything negative to say about him. I think he's kind of earned his way up. It's helped, I think, that some of the people that were up there before maybe dropped the ball, but I don't think he'll do poorly.
No, 9 and 6 at M5, so now he moves up to M4. I'm glad to see it. I think he's a strong contender up there. And I think his ceiling is not Yokozuna, but is more likely Ozeki, but I'd still like the guy,
Yep. No, I'm in the exact same boat.
Yeah. Is there anyone like, well, here, I'm going to give away the lead because for me, shockingly, I think the answer is no this time. But are there any egregious over or under rankings that you saw here?
Honestly, no. I think
know.
everything kind of fell within like that reasonable expectation where maybe you're off by a little bit of where you would have guessed, but I think everybody's fairly accurate to where their skills are. Right
I know. Yeah, the combination of skills plus past results. Like, I just think that this is like, in a boring way, just like, oh yeah, this is the correct Bansuke. The only thing I could even make a case for are those Kotoshoho Aoyama demotions and the Terunofuji and maybe like Kitano Wakaroga coming up, those little things. But like, those margins are so slim, and when we're talking about the bottom of the Bansuke, I'm like, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I don't think Hakutefuji's gonna like do crazy well at Komusubi. Like, his record just doesn't support that. However, at like based on the last two Basho, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like, you can't not have him there. Like, we don't think he's going to do great there, but you can't not rank him there.
Abi bounces back up. That one just makes sense. I still really want to see Koto no Waka make that Ozeki run. I'm hoping that comes up eventually.
I do too. And you know what? Speaking of Koto no Waka and Ozeki runs, if we're going to hop back into the Sanyaku, let's do some predictions. Who do you think, to start off, are your dark horse contenders? Who are some guys who really are not the favorite to win this, but you think there is a path that they can follow that is pretty reasonable? And is Koto no Waka one of them?
This is going to be probably not shocking to anybody who's listened to us more than once. Takayasu.
Yeah, baby! Big Papa!
He'll always disappoint us, but I'm still always like looking around him. There's really nobody in his immediate vicinity who I would be like, oh yeah, they're just going to steamroll over him. I'm like, he should be able to win. And even at Sekewake, he's fought these guys so many times. I'm not going to say he's going to overwhelm them, but I feel like he could.
I agree. Like, if we do the same math, so generally speaking, records withheld, like things change once guys start winning and losing, but the JSA will try to have you fight all the guys plus or minus 5 or 6 rankings from you in a Basho. So if he's going to be at M3, like, I'm just going to rattle some of these off. We don't think Terunofuji is going to fight. And then Takakeisho, Kirishima, Hoshoryu, those are going to be hard fights for him, but those are not guys he's scared of. Those are guys he's fought a billion times and guys he can beat. Daisho, Wakamoto Haru, and Koto no Waka, when he's healthy, those are actually guys that he's better than all of them. Abi and Hokutofuji, setting aside the catastrophic events of him versus Abi in the past, those are guys that he's just better than and traditionally should own. Asanoyama's hurt, so he should be better than him. Ura, Shodai, Meisei, Tobizaru, he should be able to beat those guys. Gonoyama, Onosho, Shononumi, maybe those are coin flips, but Nishikifuji still recovering from injury. Midori Fuji, Takanosho, he should be able to beat those guys. Like, there's just a path. There's no denying it. If he's healthy and on his game, 13 wins is possible. He needs to win a lot of his coin flips to get there, but like, that could happen.
Yeah, I think there's a real, like, it would be exciting, but not shocking if it happened. Like, I wouldn't be like some of the people, like when Midori Fuji was the primary contender several tournaments ago, where you're like, oh my God, what a surprise. Yeah. Like, if it happened to Takayasu, you'd be like, okay, this is fine. This adds up.
Yeah. Or even Nishikifuji, like a tournament or so after that. It's like, because Nishikifuji, like, we all agree he's good, but he's like a career journeyman,
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm with you. I love that. I'll take my own bait though to be a bad host. Like Koto no Waka, I'm interested in as a dark horse only because of pedigree and age, and we talk so much about injury derailing guys, but to see how well he's recovered from his knee injury and to make this slow, steady climb to Sekiwake, he might be the next best candidate to move up to Ozeki. But one thing he's going to need to get to Ozeki is he's going to need to get that win. So maybe this could be the time if Terunofuji's not there. I could see Koto no Waka, but standing in his way as another dark horse candidate, in my opinion, would be Daisho, who has actually got no one in the 2023 Honbasho, this year's season. No one has more wins than Daisho, which is why it's tragic to see he gave an interview. No, it's not like tragic. I mean, it's he's just being reasonable. So on that hand, you and I both try to be a voice of reason in the English-speaking sumo community, kind of juxtaposed with some of the madness we see in the sumo subreddit. But like he gave a quote saying that he thinks his Ozeki promotion chances for now are over. He thinks he's starting from square one. And he's not wrong. Mainly that July 9 wins, that albatross hanging on him has kind of sunk him. But in his 2023, he has 10 wins, 12 wins in a Gino show where he almost won that Basho. Basically, when he and Kiribayama, now Kirishima, were in a duel to see who would become Ozeki. Then he had 10 wins in May. And that tough July with 9, and then 10 wins last Basho. So the guy has so far only had one Basho where he didn't have double-digit wins. And he's got, 51 wins? Let's see, 32, yes. 41, 50. Yeah, 51 so far. He's been the class of 2023. So, I mean, it just seems reasonable to say, yeah, I mean, this guy should be a contender.
It's interesting how steady. This has got to be one of his best years. But like you said, he's double-digit wins almost every single time, doing super well, but just he doesn't have like the super high peaks, which is just like which would have been enough to like push him up a level.
Yep, like one more win in one of those 10 winners or something. Yeah,
and I agree. I mean, I think for now, like if he won this Basho, that would be a good start to go into Ozeki. But I don't know. I think he's good. I think he's good at where he's at, and I think he has a solid chance. I think he has a solid chance this time.
Yeah, I those are exactly. I think those guys are my dark horse picks. I love your Takayasu dark horse pick, both from my heart, but also my brain. Like, I think the math makes sense, like you say. One last question on dark horses before we move on. Abi, you think now that he's back in Komusubi, what you think?
Man, it's tough. No, he last November came out of nowhere, rolled everybody, just about killed Takayasu. But he got it, and he beat all the people that he needed to. I think it's possible. I just don't want to. That's when I really don't want to get my hopes up. I would love to see him go November to November wins.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious. Just like, I show up in Kyushu. What about like who's a guy? Not necessarily who's gonna win it, but like who do you think is gonna have a sneaky great performance? Like who's the low ranker, rank and filer who's gonna stand out with 10 or 11 wins? Obviously, the last couple Basho are low-ranked rank and filers who kind of jumped out, actually did contend for the Basho in Atamifuji and Hakuoho. But, I mean, so that's a possibility. But setting that aside, who do you think is a lower-ranked guy who might jump out with double-digit wins?
Honestly, I put Ichi Yamamoto in that group.
Yeah.
He's clearly been performing at Juryo high enough.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, all the people around him just have not been on their A game lately.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, he's not going to, I don't think he's going to be like a true contender for the Basho, but I think he'll score high. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at 10, 11 wins.
Yeah, I mean, like, if nothing else, if he cleans up all of the Juryo guys who came up, that's 5 wins. If he can beat what we think is a very much an aging Terunofuji, there's 6. Tamawashi, I would love to pick as a dark horse, but after he absolutely devastated me in the last tournament, like, maybe that's a guy who's in the same camp as Terunofuji now, as one of these aging guys, that's 7. Like, I mean, he could rack up a lot of free wins down there. Another guy, I talked about Tamawashi, who I would love to pick as a dark horse because he's just class, but he has not looked it for 3 or 4 tournaments in a row. And this one, I have no faith in this pick, whereas the Kotonowaka and Daisho ones, I don't think they're actually going to happen, but I do think that they're reasonable. I'm just like, I have no faith in this guy at all, but he has a strange pattern, my friend, where let me take you back to November of 2022, where he had 10 wins, followed by 4 and 7. But then in May, he had 11 wins, followed by 6 and 5. So if we're following that pattern of a couple of garbage Basho sandwiched between 2 good ones, surely he's ready for 10, 11, 12 now?
I could see. I would like to see it.
Yeah.
For at least a 10 win.
Yeah. He's just so frustrating, man. Like, he's got the pedigree, he's got the body, the drive, the fight. I do not see it.
I also think Tobizaru could do pretty well, where I think he's... Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he was at Komusubi again after this one. Just he really picked up his game in the last year, where I think he truly deserves to be in like that upper Megashira, lower Sanyaku range.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see him again pick up enough to kind of overshadow the people around him too. He's kind of the monkey wrench.
Sweet. I'd love. Come on, I almost missed it. It's good. It's good. Yeah. So I love that one. But now, of course, the big finale. Who is actually going to win it? It's all fine to waste our hot air and words, but what do you think?
I would put it like a 95% chance of Takakeisho. Yeah. Like, I'd be more surprised if he didn't.
I mean, he's coming off of this win. He's got another chance so soon. I did not think we were going to get a chance this soon for Yokozuna. Like, it has to be now. And we talked last episode. Again, go back and listen to it if you want a more in-depth explanation of this. But my man absolutely owns November. Like, Kyushu is just where he dominates. He's only ever once in his career had a losing record in November, and that was in 2015 when he was down in Makuuchi. But before that, he's got a 7-0 Jonokuchi championship, a 12-3 Juryo championship. He's won 2 Makuuchi Basho there. He's got an outstanding performance. Like, it's insane. We were talking about how good Daisho is. In the last 6 Kyushus, he's got over 70 wins. Like, it's got to be Takakeisho.
For sure. I mean, there's always like the odds of like a Kirishima upset. Mm-hmm. That's totally possible. I think that's definitely in his wheelhouse, but I would give it to Takakeisho.
Yeah. I also think that Kirishima is the other Ozeki who could do it, but curious just to hear what you say, because I think generally we're on the same page, so maybe it won't be anything new, but I'm just curious, like, why isn't it Hoshoryu? Why don't we have any faith? Why is it always Kirishima and we don't have faith that Hoshoryu will be the guy to come up?
I was just thinking about that too. I'm like, why do I never, like, I just never think it's going to be him. And he's good. He's really good. But I think the other two, it's kind of like what I said with, I don't remember for sure who I was talking about. Daisho, where it's like I think Hoshoryu is really consistent, but he doesn't have those same super high peaks that Kirishima and Takakeisho have, where they come through and they just wreck everybody and then they drop. They've done some real bad ones.
Yep. It's exactly.
But he just doesn't quite have that.
Yeah, right. He never has the drop out of the bottom, but like since he made like when he first made Komusubi, so picking that as the starting date, so March of 2022, he reeled off 4 straight tournaments with 3 8 wins and a 9 win. Like, I think that sort of set the tone for me of like what he is, like, because then after that he did have an 11, but then he had 8. Then he had his run for Ozeki, so 10, 11, 12, so he's been like getting better. And so we got all excited. We were like, okay, maybe this is the new Hoshoryu now. He just gets better every tournament. Now he's an Ozeki. And then last Basho he had 8 wins, and that was after getting the 6 losses in the first half. So then it immediately brought back that old narrative. So I guess I just need to see him banish that narrative and run off, honestly, probably like 4 10-win tournaments in a row, and then win a Yusho after that. Like, then I'll be like, okay, now this is the guy. But, it's like, that's the thing. Ozekis, we always want to see 10 wins. Anytime you see 8, it's kind of like, well, that wasn't what I paid for.
Yep. Yeah, or I think I still have that high expectation from Takakeisho where it's like, unless he's badly injured, it's double digits is kind of a minimum.
Right. I'm with you. But no reason why he couldn't do it. Maybe he'll make the Basho more exciting, but I think you and I both think the most likely result is that Takakeisho pulls this one down. Hopefully then that means he goes to Yokozuna. And I think not only do we think that's the most likely, I think we both want that result, right?
Yes. I guarantee Yokozuna, I'm like, I don't even know if he'd participate in his first tournament.
It would be hilarious. He would totally sit out. Oh, but yeah, it'd be good. Maybe that's it. Maybe he wins November, so he gets promoted to Yokozuna, so we have 2. Terunofuji comes back in January, but Takakeisho sits out, so Terunofuji gets his swan song, Zensho Yusho victory, and then retires, and then the Takakeisho era starts in March.
Yeah, they can just flip a coin between the two of them who's going to show up for a tournament for a little while.
Hey, I mean, Hakuho and Kakuryu did it for like 2 years.
I think this could be our show. I think that could be it.
Yep, it's good. Either way, though, can't wait for it. Basho coming up in a week, and it's going to be a good one. So, Nick, talk to you later, and thanks for listening, everybody.